I was planning to go and buy fertilizer this morning, but I took a look at the Weather Channel and the rain that I was gonna have this week. Yesterday or so 2 days ago, I checked the Weather Channel, and the Weather Channel was saying that I'm gonna have like a 30, 40, 50% chance of it raining for like 3 or 4 days in a row this week, this coming week. And I took a look at it yesterday, and the rain is all gone. And so I took a look at it, and I don't have any more rain. And if I don't have any more rain, I'm not going to fertilize my grass. And so I was taking a look at the Weather Channel, and but you know, on that the new ranch, the new ranch that I bought, there's enough grass over there for me to put at least 5 or 10 animals on it for at least a month or two. I mean, you know, it's not the best grass and whatnot, but I mean, I still have enough grass to last my animals for about you know, I could put 5 or 10 animals on it for at least a month or two, you know, before it until it starts raining. You know, I'll probably start you know, I'll probably get rain within the next month. And you know, I can still go ahead and put my animals on that grass. And so all right, so there were you know, I had something that I wanted to talk about. I completely forgot what it was. I had a topic in mind for what I wanted to speak about today, what I was going to speak about. What was the topic? You know, this morning I was going to get fertilizer, but I'm not going to fertilize my field because all the rain is gone. Next week, the weather's supposed to drop below 40 for the first time this year, or not the first time this year, but the first time this winter, this fall, whatever you want to call it. It's supposed to drop under 40. And I got a lot of sagebrush over on my new ranch. I got a lot of sagebrush, and so that sagebrush, I've been talking about sagebrush. Sagebrush grows when it's warm outside, and so when it gets cold, it effectively dies. Yeah, immediately, you know, and so you know, that's very good. You know, it gets cold and then it's gonna rain, and so if it gets cold and the sagebrush dies, and then I fertilize the field and then it rains, the grass that's underneath it can grow in. And so you know, I forgot, you know, I had a clear descript you know, the discussion topic that I was going to talk about, but then I completely forgot what it is. But I'm just going to go ahead and get into the meat of the material. And so you know, I said starting effectively about 3 or 4 days ago, I have entered this portion of my this whole thing where I am effectively just going to start collecting money, right? And I've talked about this in terms of a broader idea. And I was actually thinking about this morning, and I was like, you know, and I always say you got to find your peace with God, right? And I was thinking about this, and I was taking a look at this whole thing, and I was like, you know, now that I am here, it makes sense why I did what I did. When I take a look at what I did in the past, and I take a look at where I am, it makes sense now. Like it all begins to make sense to me. You know, because this whole thing, and I was talking about this for a couple of days, but a lot of times when you see somebody making money, when you see somebody who is very well-to-do financially, this is the part that you get to see. Most of the time, this is what you see. You don't see what that person went through to make it. Very often, almost, you know, you almost don't ever get to see that part. And me, you know, and when I take a look at what I did, and I guess, and I took a look at this, I believe that God had chosen me, because it was not me, you know, with the utmost sincerity, I give you the best information that I can. You know, I work 7 days a week. You know, I believe that I am in good graces with God. You know, I work on my relationship with God every day. You know, and when I take a look at what I did and where I am now, and I take a look at what's happened, and you know, a lot of times when you see somebody who is making a tremendous sum of money, this is the part that you see most of the time. You almost don't ever see the process that it took to make it. And so, you know, and I didn't show you the entire process. I've already talked about this. You know, this is actually my 15th year, and I've been working like this every day for 15 years. All right. And so I didn't get to show you the whole 15 years, but I did actually get to show you what it was like before I made it, and then I made it. And when I say I made it, and I talk about money, here's the thing. Over the next about 4 months, I will actually generate enough money via farming, because I've already said that, you know, I have a non-payment agreement on my property until about April. Until April of next year, I have a non-payment agreement. So I can effectively just make as much money as I can over the next 4.5 months. And I just get to effectively keep all of it. I don't have to worry about making any payments. And so when I take a look at what I did, and here's what the money's going to look like over the next 4 months. And I'm not even, and I've already talked about this in terms of a broader business idea. I will actually generate enough money to buy myself a new truck, increase the size of my herd, and put money away so that I'm ready to go for my, you know, to start making payments on my new piece of land. I will be able to do all of that, and I will still have, you know, I will be able to put probably I don't know, even after I do all of that, I will still be able to put, over the next 4 months, you know, I'll be able to put like $25,000 cash away in my bank account, even after I've paid for everything. And so, and, you know, I've already talked about in terms of what, you know, what am I looking to do? Why am I looking to do it? You know, I've talked about this in terms of a broader business idea. But the big idea is that, okay, so when I take a look at an animal that is about this size, right? You know, this is, you know, this red one, this black one, that red one over there. I would say that in about 3 months, they're going to be going to market. This one, that one, and that one, in about 3 months, they're going to be going to market. And if you see the one next to them, you know, I got a lot of animals. I would say that the average weight of my animals probably somewhere around 450, right? 400, 450, something like that. That means a majority of these animals, if they're, you know, and I would say that they're putting on about 75 pounds a month. It's a very reasonable estimate. You know, when they're on grass, and I have a lot of grass, maybe they put on about 90 pounds a month, but it's more or less somewhere around 75. 75 is a very reasonable estimate for how much weight they're going to put on every month. And so, you know, and I take a look at everything that I got going on. And, you know, these animals, the big ones are probably around 600 right now. In about 3 months, they'll be about 800. And 800, 850, something like that. And when I take them to market at 800, 850, anytime that I sell one animal, I effectively make enough money to buy about 2 1/4 animals, right? I talk about this all the time. If I have a 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame animal, and they weigh about 850 pounds, every time that I sell that, every time I sell one animal, I effectively make enough money to buy more than 2 animals, right? Granted that I utilize the benchmark animal, right? Granted that I purchase a 200-pound number 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame animal, right? And so, you know, and I take a look at everything, and I'll be able to buy myself a new truck, increase the size of my herd, and put money away in my bank account all at the same time. And I talked about this in terms of like if you take a look at you know, and this also ties all back to the idea that a lot of times you know, results are important. All right, results are important. But in terms of like, if I were to gonna give like an idea of a broader idea, results are important, but progress is far more important than results. If you actually take a look at it for what it is, because if you take a look at me, like if you're watching me right now and you're going, oh my God, I want to get here. You know, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. I want to be making $5-10 million a year. I want to do that too, right? And you taking a look at me and you go, oh man, you know, I want to make $5-10 million a year. That's the result. That's the result of 15 years of progress. All right, it took a long time. I did not start here, and I've already told you, you know, in terms of this reality, I am giving you my information for free. All right, I give you the information for free. If you take a look at what I do, I mean, in reality, we're effectively talking about a 0% success rate. It is effectively 0%. I actually do not know a single person, and think about it this way. And I talk about it in terms of the 10% mark. Most people, I haven't even seen anybody even get to the 10% mark. And if you think about what the 10% mark is, the 10% mark is you would be generating $500,000 to $1 million a year. If you could do 10%, you would still be making $500,000 to $1 million a year. You would be generating that much money. You know, and even at the 10% mark, you make enough money to do whatever you want. You have to think about this. I mean, and I talked about this yesterday, right? I talked about this yesterday in terms of money. You know, after a certain point, the money doesn't even do anything. All right, you know, it's like and it doesn't even do anything. Granted that you're not going to go and have some major problem, it's not going to do anything. Like, granted that you don't have some major spending problem, you don't, you know, you don't go and gamble, you know, you don't do anything like that. Effectively, the money does not do anything. All right, you should not be looking at something like this and saying that you want to be this. All right, because this is the result. And this took me almost 15 years. All right, and so, you know, you should not be looking at this saying that you want to be this. Because in reality, I effectively don't know anybody that can even do 10%. All right, I mean, this is legitimately going to be the hardest thing that you have ever done. Are you, you know, and actually, I want to talk about this in terms of a broader idea. You know, and I actually discussed this because I actually do not suggest that you go and I don't, you know, because I believe, you know, in terms of like a cosmic karma, like when I take a look at, you know, in terms of a cosmic, like the idea of karma, right? The idea of a cosmic sail, a cosmic wind. Like, you know, sincerely, deep down, I actually do not think that it is a good idea to be somebody who is like, you know, look at me, I make a boatload of money, I'm gonna go and buy myself a Lamborghini, I'm gonna go and, you know, and I'm gonna go and hang out with you know, I actually you know, I'm gonna go and hang out with you know, 15 models every weekend. I actually do not think that that is a good idea, because a lot of times when you do something like that, you know, you're not gonna have money for very long. And so and so me, I'm not saying I'm a saint, right? I'm not saying I'm a saint. I'm not saying that I'm a whatever. I'm just saying that when it comes to, when you actually watch what I do and you take a look at what I do and you just think about it, I mean, you're going to understand that I took all of the money that I made and I just reinvested into my business. And my business is running beef cattle. I don't manufacture drugs, right? I don't go and do you know, you know, I run beef cattle. All right, and so, you know, I don't go and do horrible things, right? I mean, you know, I run beef cattle, and I took all of the money that I made, I reinvested it into my business, and the big idea was when I reinvested the money into my business, I can expand my cash flow opportunity, right? That's the big idea. And so, I would actually say that over starting here in about 3 months, I will probably start making somewhere around $25,000 a month. I'll make about $25,000 a month, and by the end of the year, I will have raised that amount to about $40,000, and that's just cash. All right, I'm not talking about the equity of my herd. I'm not talking about the equity of my investments. I'm talking about just cash. That's what I logically anticipate. I will make about $40,000 a month cash. And in terms of the equity of my herd, I believe that I will have a herd that is worth about probably about 100,000, maybe about 150,000 as well. So I'll have, you know, about about 150,000 in cattle. And then I'll have about somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000 cash. And then I will have and I will also have generated you know, several $1 million in equity assets, right? In terms of my business, right? You know, in terms of my business, I will have generated more than $5 million. And so, that is what I legitimately, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm not saying this to boast, I'm just saying that that is what it is. All right, I'm giving you the information for free. All right, I've talked about this in terms of a broader reality. You know, I do hope that you know, like if you find it in yourself to succeed, then I sincerely that it would be great if you did. You know, I don't sit around hoping that people fail, right? I mean, you know, that's a worthless, pathetic thing to do. And in terms of a cosmic reality, in terms of like a universal karma, I mean, that's kind of bad karma, right? If you sit around and hope that people fail, how do you think your life is going to turn out? I mean, right? I mean, and this is what I talk about in terms of like, if I were to take a look at my situation, and I don't say these things to brag, right? I'm just saying we should just be honest with ourselves. If you take a look at someone like me, what we're talking about is 0.00001%. All right, I mean, and I talked about this in terms of like how does this pan out in reality? Let's say that you go and the average person does not know 1,000 people. The average person maybe knows 50 people, right? And it's like, in reality, if 50 people know 50 people, and those 50 people know 50 people, and those 50 people know 50 people, at that point you will find one person who can make money like this. Effectively one. And if we boil it down even further to how many people do we know that are cattle farmers, a legitimate cattleman that can generate millions and millions and millions of dollars a year, how many do we know? It's just effectively, if you actually sat there and you were to write people down on a list, it would essentially be just me. All right, it's effectively just me. And this is my reality. Even when I go and I take a look, and and I go all over the place, and whatever, I go all over the place, I take a look, and and I'm just driving around, going to the sale barn over there, going wherever, I have not seen anybody even manage to do 10%. All right, I mean, there's a reason for that too. I mean, this is not some this is effectively going to be one of the hardest things that you can ever do. Farming is not something that people do because it's easy. Farming is something that people do most of the time because they have no other choice, right? I mean, it's either they become a farmer, or they have legitimately nothing, or I mean, they're a farmer and they're poor. All right, I mean, I'm the only one that I know that made it. And when it comes to farming, I've already I'll go over this again. In terms of like, if I were to give my utmost sincere because me, I've talked about this, but in terms of me, when you take a look through my perspective, you have to understand that money is negligible. It does not matter. Money, even if I had $0, it would not matter. Why? Because I am still effectively one of the most, if not in like the top 5 most capable farmers on the entire planet. You could legitimately put me on a bus and put me in the middle of Central Texas by myself in the middle of nowhere, and you come back a year later and I would have made myself over $1 million. All right, effectively, I'm the only one that is capable of doing this. That, from what I know, if I find somebody who is also capable of doing something like this, I would love to meet you. All right, I've talked about this, and I talk about this all the time. If you're actually capable of farming, like if I could also take you and put you on a bus and put you in the field in the middle of nowhere in Central Texas, and I could come back a year later and you could have made millions of dollars as well, I would love to meet you. All right, but from what I have seen to this day, I'm the only one. And so, and I talked about this, I gave you my, I gave you my business plan word for word, right? I gave you the business plan that I used to make money. In terms of like a broader reality, if I were to have to, restart everything from the very beginning, and I had nothing, I had no money, how would I do it, right? I would go and find myself a 20-acre piece of land, because a 20-acre piece of land in the middle of Central Texas, if you find a raw piece of land that has nothing on it, you take a look at it, the soil crop classification is a 3 or better, and the pH is between a 6 and an 8. You go out there and you take a look at the wild vegetation, and and it looks like the soil will grow something, and you go out there and you take a look and you say, okay, well, I want to buy this property, and you talk to the owner and you tell them, you don't say, I've always said that, this is very important, that you learn to communicate like a rich person, right? You don't ever communicate like a poor person. You don't say things like, I don't have the money. You never say you don't have the money. The money, you can always make the money. The money is always the easy part. The money is negligible. All right, you have to understand, like, when it comes to farming 20 acres, are you even capable of farming 20 acres? Like, do you even know what you're doing? Can you even do the work? That's more important than you don't ever say things like, I don't have the money. You don't ever say that to anybody. All right, because why? Because money is always the easy part. Money is negligible. All right, you can always make the money. Money is negligible. You don't ever worry about the money. You worry about the task at hand. So when you go and you find a 20-acre piece of land, right? You find a 20-acre piece of land. What do you give me a 1-year non-payment agreement. All right, give me a 1-year non-payment agreement. They give you whatever, 9 months or whatever it may be. If you're going to plant grass on 20 acres, what's that going to cost you? About $2,000. For you to maintain that field at a level where you can run 4 or 5 cattle per acre, what's that going to cost you? About $1,000 a month. If you're only going to run, 2 cattle per acre, you can probably do it with, but I would not suggest, I would still suggest whatever, right? I mean, run a cost whatever. It's going to cost about $1,000 a month. And if you invest, and here is a very realistic way to look at it. When you take a look at my field, this field, I put $500 a month into it, and I make about $70,000, $80,000 a year of net return cash. And I also retain cattle assets. All right, I make about a net profit of about $60,000 to $80,000 a year cash for a $500 a month investment. All right, if you have a 20-acre field and you go and you farm that 20-acre field and you do something, if I were put on a 20-acre field with nothing, I could easily net profit over $70,000 a year, $70,000 a year net profit cash. I would also be retaining money in the equity of the land. I would also have cattle assets, and I would have also started myself a business, and that business would be equitable. All right, it's easily a net evaluation of over $1 million, and it wouldn't even take me 1 year. All right, that's how you need to learn. I've already said that, having somebody, you should not be, I'm not going to, tell you what to think. You can think whatever you want, right? And you should think for yourself. And I don't know if that's kind of ironic that, but if you take a look at me, you're going to understand that I think about the things that I'm doing to a very, 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 very fine detail. This is the cattle that I'm going to buy. This is how I'm going to budget for them. These are the commodity markets that I look at. When it comes to negotiating a deal, this is how I negotiate a deal. These are the things that I negotiate. This is my business plan, and this is how much money, net profits from my business plan, etc., etc. All of these things, right? I mean, and I've always said that if you're going to do something, you need to make sure that you don't pick and choose the things that you want to do. You need to actually do everything. All right, because when it comes to picking and choosing the things that you want to do, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to end up picking the things that you want to do, and then you're going to not do the things that you don't want to do, and the things that you don't want to do are going to pile up so substantially that it takes you under. All right, you have to do everything. All right, and so, you can't pick and choose the things that you want to do, and I did not pick and choose the things that I wanted to do either. All right, I've already talked about this. I did not just come up with these cattle standards on my own. I did not just, whatever, right? I mean, I did not pick and choose the things that I wanted to do, right? And so, in terms of a business plan, I've already given you my business plan. I legitimately gave it to you, right? I mean, and I've already said that if you have a better idea of what you're doing and you fundamentally understand, then do that, right? I mean, like, if you're in a situation where you're like in the middle of Nebraska and you found a farmer that is selling their calves, and their calves have been genetically tested for for very good quality genes, and the farmer is asking for above commodity prices for them, and you take a look at them, and you understand what you're doing. I've already said this, like, if you actually have a better plan and you have thoroughly thought it through, then go ahead and just do your plan. I mean, your plan is better. If you legitimately actually understand that your plan is better, then go and do your plan, right? I mean, and that's a very good example. I've already talked about, different examples. Like if you're in the middle of Nebraska and you find a farmer that is selling their calves, and their calves have been genetically tested for like to be a 1+ type of, they're over the market average in terms of quality. They're straight Angus, 100% Angus, genetically been tested for very good growth traits. I mean, they're weaning at like 750 pounds, and et cetera, and you find these calves and the farmer wants above commodity prices for them, then and you take a look at them, and maybe you take your animals and you raise them on a high growth ration, and then you sell them on a grid, right? And that's your plan. If that is your plan, then do your plan. I mean, your plan is definitely better than the one that I'm giving, but the one that I'm giving you on, when I give my plan, I'm not being malicious, right? I'm saying that this is the plan that I used in my current situation to make the money that I did, right? I'm in the middle of Central Texas. I don't have long strings of #1 type cattle, right? I mean, when I go to the sell barn, I'm buying these calves one at a time. A lot of these calves have massive problems. I mean, some people legitimately sell sick calves. A lot of people sell sick cattle, right? I mean, you have to understand the situation that I'm in, right? I go to the sell barn and buy cattle one by one by myself in the middle of Central Texas. All right, and with these circumstances, this is the business plan that I used. All right, but if you have a better idea of what is going on, and then there's no reason to take my business plan. I'm just giving you my business plan because it's just something for you to consider. All right, this is the situation that I'm in. This is the market that I'm in. This is what I do, and this is how much money I made. All right, and so but after a certain point, you understand this, that money becomes negligible. I talk about this all the time, but you don't ever say that you don't have the money, because if you ever say that you don't have the money, you immediately come off as a poor person. Because if you get yourself a decent deal, if you get yourself a good deal and you know what you're doing, you can always make the money. All right, like let's say you go and you find a 20-acre piece of land, right? And the land has been on the market for over 180 days. And you talk to the owner and you tell him, if you give me a 1-year option contract and allow me to run cattle on this property, I will agree to your price, right? I will give you the price if you give me better terms. And then, if they say no, then you go and you find another 20-acre piece of property. There are 20-acre pieces of property all over the place. You can find them all over the place for that price range. For about $10,000 an acre, you can find them all over the place. All right, and so, and then you go on to your next deal, and then you find one that works. All right, and then you take your option contract, you run your cattle, you go and you run your cattle, you grow the grass, etc., etc. I'm not going to say you do it, because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you do whatever you want. That's what I would do. Even if I had nothing, I could make $1 million in a year, no problem. Zero issues. Even if I had $0 right now, I can make $1 million in a year. All right, it's not hard. All right, it's not. Well, I mean, it was hard figuring it out, and with the utmost sincerity, I'm gonna say, I gave you the information that I collected throughout my life. This is how I overcame these obstacles, with the intentions of pushing you over the obstacle, so that you begin to understand that you can do things this way as well. This is how I did things, right? You get yourself an option contract, you get yourself a non-payment agreement, you buy these type of, I bought these type of cattle. I'm gonna start saying it like this. I went and I got myself an option contract. I bought myself a piece of land and got myself a non-payment agreement. I went and bought these type of cattle. I went and but the thing is that, it's like when I use the word I, it doesn't really it's kind of it doesn't make sense to me, because in all reality, it's like when I use the word I feel like I'm putting the spotlight on myself, and there's no reason for me to do that, because at the end of the day, even if I had nothing, I could easily make $1 million in a year just running cattle, right? I mean, there's the whole point of this is to push other people into the right direction, right? And so I want to focus on the people who actually want to learn, and that is who I consider to be you, right? If you are actually looking to learn how to do this, right, I mean, here is your chance, right? I mean, what is something that you could do? Someone who wants to learn and actually wants to go and but actually go and do this. What is something that you could do, right? I mean, you could go and find yourself a 20-acre piece of land, put it under an option contract, take a non-payment agreement on it, get yourself about 1 year of time frame. Anticipate that you're going to, go on this website and check the quality of your soil, right? Check the soil crop classification and check the pH of your soil. Go out there and take a look at the wild vegetation that is growing. Develop an idea for what kind of fertilizer you're going to be putting on your land. And if you put about 1 ton of fertilizer, for every tonnage of fertilizer that you put on your land, it will cost about $550 or so a ton. How do you figure that out? You go on the internet and you check the price of urea on the commodity market, right? And so, these are various things that you could do, right? And then if you take a 1 year non-payment agreement, if you manage to get yourself a 1 year non-payment agreement, how do you get yourself a 1 year non-payment agreement? Well, you offer them the listing price, not the listing price, but the appraisal value of the property, right? I mean, if you want to, you should probably take a little bit of a deduction, but you don't hammer the listing price, right? I mean, you ask for a listing price deduction. And then, a slight bit, maybe I would encourage that you get a bit of a deduction on the listing price, but you more or less give them, not give them, but more or less. I mean, I would still negotiate it a bit, but you can, you offer them in the listing price, but you want better terms. That's how I would negotiate it. Ask for better terms, but more or less give them the listing price. All right, and get yourself a 1 year non-payment agreement. Get out there on the field, grow the grass. When the grass comes in and it's coming in pretty decently, go and buy your cattle. Buy your cattle, buy these type of cattle. Budget for them by looking, if you want to figure out how much you should be paying for your cattle, the feeder cattle market on the stock market is the price, effectively the price, the way that people gauge the price. Right, when the price of corn, I also look at the price of corn. When the price of corn is whatever, right, if you calculate about 4% of your animal's body weight in corn, that's about 3.25% of their body weight in dry matter. If you feed them about 1% of their body weight a day, calculate how much that is going to cost you. If you bought corn from a commodity broker and you used 1% of the body weight of your animal as corn and you fed it to them, and you anticipated that if you with the quality of the grass that they're on and the corn that you're feeding them, if you feed them 1% of their body weight a day in corn and they gain an extra ½ pound to a pound, how much are you going to net positive on your corn? And if you are going to net positive on the corn, you might as well feed it to them, right? I mean, all of these different various strategies that you can use to generate money. That's how I did it, right? If you want to take a look, and when you take a look at me, and it's like, how do I generate such a massive amount of money? And I want to talk about this before I get started on this next portion of everything. I do not believe that it is a good idea, like me, because I'm gonna go and buy myself a new piece of land. I'm gonna go and buy myself 100 more cattle. I'm gonna buy myself a new truck, right? And my money is gonna go vertical. All right, but I don't I guess I'll have to digest the idea. I don't condone you know, this type of behavior where it's like, you know, I made money and now I'm just flexing on everybody. I don't condone that behavior. You see this a lot on social media, right? Oh my God, I made myself some money, so I'm going to go and buy myself a Lamborghini. I'm going to go and get myself 5 girlfriends. I'm going to get myself a Rolex watch. And then I'm going to put it, you know, me, I don't condone that behavior. All right, I actually don't think that you're doing anybody any favors, and I also do not think that you should be watching things like that. I don't think that it's a good idea, right? I mean, in reality, if you even manage to do about about $15,000 a month, about $10,000 a month, you effectively make so much money that you can do whatever you want. You know, granted that you don't go and buy yourself a Lamborghini or something, but I mean, even if you wanted to buy yourself a Lamborghini, you could do that. Right, I mean, if you really decided that that was what you wanted to do, I mean, you could do that. I mean, am I suggesting that you go and make $10,000 a month to go and save money for a Lamborghini? No, I don't. All right, you know, but even me right now, if I wanted to, I could buy myself a Lamborghini. You know, in all honesty, I could. You know, it's not a tremendous amount of money. You know, but you know, me, I'm just going to give the information for free with the intentions of maybe, you know, I increase the success ratio. But even if I increase the success ratio as of right now is 0.0000001%. That is the current success ratio as of today. If I take a look at the information provided by the entire U.S. population, the success rate is borderline 0%. And so, you know, as it stands today, is borderline 0%. But if I can get, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 people to also be successful, then I would have just considered it a day. I would just consider it a done deal. All right, I'm just gonna, you know, I would say that it's a job well done, and you know, I rest my case. But over the next, I mean, I'm actually you know, I'm just gonna say, you know, this is the part when most people, when you see somebody who has a large sum of money, this is the part that you normally get to see. I am gonna start collecting a massive amount of money very quickly, and you know, most of the time when you see somebody making money, this is the part that you see. But from my perspective, even if I did not make half of this money, I could still effectively do anything that I wanted, anything. Granted that it wasn't like I was going to go and do drugs or gamble or drink a bunch of alcohol. Granted that it wasn't something like that, or have 15 girlfriends. Granted that it wasn't anything like that, I could already effectively buy anything on the planet. I could actually even right now buy myself a Lamborghini. And I have not effectively even increased my cash flow yet. I can effectively already buy myself a Lamborghini. I could buy myself a Lamborghini. I could buy myself a Rolex watch. And I would still have money left over. And so even though I have not increased my income yet, which, you know, my income is going to increase very rapidly. All right. My business is going to compound growth by itself. I've talked about this, right? And so, you know, but this is the part, but I'm just going to be completely sincere before I get started on this next portion of my business plan, that even if I did not generate this much money, I could still do anything that I wanted. All right, I'm going to be increasing my income pretty drastically. But even if I did not increase my income drastically from this point, I could still have effectively done anything on the entire planet. All right, and so I want to make that very clear, because it's like when you watch me, I don't want people to get discouraged, right? I don't want you to get discouraged. I don't want you to be discouraged. Oh my God, you know, this guy is generating like $5-10 million a year. He's net positive cash flow, like 30 grand a month. And I don't want you to get discouraged by that. All right, it's a process. I mean, this took me 15 years. And even in reality, if I did even 10% of what I did, I would still have made enough money to do anything that I had ever wanted on the entire planet. Not even wanted. I'm not going to say wanted, because, you know, I could have effectively done anything on the entire planet already. All right, and so I don't want you to get discouraged. All right, and I don't condone the whole flexing stuff. You know, oh my God, you know, look at me, I made a couple $1,000,000. I bought myself a Lamborghini and a Rolex watch, and now I have 3 girlfriends. You know, I don't condone that. All right, I don't think that that's good. All right, you know, me, I made this money, and then I bought myself a new piece of land. I'm going to increase the cattle herd. You know, I would say that I go net positive, somewhere around, probably, you know, it's going to be, I'm probably going to generate about, I'm going to start off generating about $20,000 a month, and I anticipate that I will push that up to about $40,000 a month cash. And I will also retain cattle assets. I will have my business will be equitable, you know, as a multiple of those earnings, etc., etc. All right, and in all reality, I will be generating somewhere between $5 and $10 million this year or next year. 2025, I will generate somewhere around $5 to $10 million. All right, and you know, but at the end of the day, that is not that's not a flex. I'm just telling you, and you should also not be discouraged by that. You should not be watching me and getting discouraged, right? And you know, you should figure out a plan for yourself, really consider it, take a look at it 5,000 times, consider the details, really, you know, do your due diligence, and then you can do it too. And you don't have to become a cattleman to do this. You can do this effectively doing anything, as long as you are effectively doing it more or less, like you're purchasing equitable assets. You have a reasonable idea for how you are going to appreciate that asset. The asset is producing a positive return, right? You bought a good asset, etc., etc. You can do this with anything. You do not have to become a cattleman to do this. All right, and effectively, I am the only cattleman that I know who did this, who managed to do this. The only one, and it's so severely like a lopsided that I actually don't know anybody that can even do 10%. And so, don't get discouraged, all right? You know, and my whole big thing, sincerity, with all sincerity, it is to get as many, and to get more people to be successful as I can. You don't want to become a poor loser, all right? I mean, you know, there's no good reason to be poor. There is no benefit to being poor. Being poor did not make you a good person. You did not become poor because you made a bunch of good choices. All right, I talk about all these things all the time. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it as a person with a lot of money. All right, and so if you want to be a good person, if you want to be a saint, and you want to go and you want to help a bunch of homeless people, and you want to be a good person, then you can do it as a rich person. You don't have to do it as a poor person. You probably can't even do it as a poor person. All right, I mean, I'm sure you can. I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna redact what I said. I mean, you can. I'm sure that there are legitimately good. There are legitimately good people. I'm sure there are. There are legitimately good people that are poor. All right, but being poor does not automatically make you a good person. There are people, just like there are people who are rich that, and I'm not saying that I'm a saint, but I don't know anybody else, it's like, I legitimately made it. I legitimately made it into the top 10,000th of a percentile of the entire U.S. economy, and I just gave everybody the information for free. I don't know anybody else who did that. Even when I make this video, if this video takes me 1 hour to make, I effectively made myself somewhere around $500 to $1,000 in that hour. Right? I mean, my assets appreciate. My assets are tied to my business. My business is equitable at an evaluation that is a multiple of my earnings. I have real estate assets, etc., etc. Right? I mean, if this video takes me 1 hour to make, I make about $500 to $1,000 in that hour. Right? I mean, and I can effectively do anything that I want. Anything. I mean, and I'm just giving you my perspective. All right. It's like, how many people do you know? It's like legitimately one of the most financially successful people on the entire country that is legitimately giving you information for free. I mean, practically nobody. Right? I mean, make a list. Find somebody that is legitimately like, this is exactly how I ran my business. This is how much money I generated. I'm even giving you my business plan for free. These are the commodity markets that I look at. This is how I do real estate deals. All of this information, I'm giving it to you for free. Right? And so, and at the end of the day, my results are that I am in the top 0.00001% of the entire U.S. economy. for the year 2024, and I'm excuse me, I'm in the top 0.00001% of the U.S. economy in 2024. But in 2025, I would anticipate that I get into the top 0.00001%. And I might even do better. Who knows, right? I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, that's up for God. I mean, that's up to God. A lot of times, sometimes I'll take a look at what I'm doing. And I'm like, you know, I ended up doing way better than I ever anticipated, and that's not because of my doing. So that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.